Can y'all hear us out there?
You guys can hear us, right?
Can you hear us?
You can hear us?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect.
All right.
Okay, everybody. Well, thank you, boys, for meeting us here in the morning. My name is Dylan Hughes. Everyone, welcome to the first Hughes It or Lose It podcast. So with us today, we have Clay Milliken, 6-time NHRA top field champion. IHRA, sorry, my fault. We have Sean Umscheid, the world famous What No Way guy.
What? No way.
What? We have Jeff Lutz from Street Outlaws and Lutz Race Cars. And I'm Dylan Hughes, Formula Drift driver and fabricator and car builder. So looks like we all have a lot of things in common, so we just kind of wanted to gather everybody here today and talk about cars, believe it or not.
That's what we do best.
That's what we do best.
Absolutely.
Talking about them is what we do best.
Yes.
Driving sometimes, depends on the day, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So let's just roll into it. So when we're doing drifting, right? So we're usually sub 100 miles an hour, but we go 100 miles an hour sideways, which is a little bit different, kind of a newer sport. But Clay, I wanted to ask you, what is it like to go 330 miles an hour? Are you just a passenger? Are you actually driving that thing? Tell me.
Well, I tell people all the time I'm just a passenger, but there's actually a lot more going on. I always say that driving a top fuel car, the thing's basically 30 foot long, and the back end's always trying to pass the front. So it's like it's like herding cats. You're doing your best just to kind of keep the thing somewhat where it needs to be. But believe it or not, the crew chiefs will tell you sometimes if we're at a track that maybe is not the best condition, I need you to be a tire width this far over at the 330 foot mark. At the eighth of a mile mark, I need you to be back in the middle, and then coming up on the finish line, you may need to be, to the other side. So there's actually stuff happening. And I mean, people think, oh, it's no way you know all that at 330 plus miles an hour, but it slows down. It's the fight or flight thing, I think is what it is. It's your brain taking care of your butt. So, yeah, you're driving them.
Crazy. I could not imagine what that is like. So went to the Bonneville Salt Flats this year, and we ran the BMST event. I did a 202 mile an hour average on a supercharged 1000 motorcycle, and that was plenty fast. I couldn't believe the wind resistance at that speed, and you're going well over 100 miles an hour faster than that. That's fantastic.
You said you went 200?
What's that?
You went 200?
I went 202.243 average over a mile on the Bonneville Salt Flats on a motorcycle.
That's ridiculous.
That's man.
Pretty fantastic. I remember laying on the gas tank thinking, why can't I hear the engine? The only thing that I can hear is just the wind noise, and I have this screen right in front of my face, and I'm just trying to look down and focus to see if it's bouncing the rev limiter, because I can't hear it because I wasn't even sure that the bike was even geared long enough, which is pretty crazy. Yeah.
I don't know that I would try that.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Not a
With
motorcycle.
age comes a cage.
With age comes a cage. There
That's
it is.
right,
He said it.
that's
I
right.
was thinking it.
Yep.
That's awesome. So, so tell me about the longest staging battle ever.
Oh, that's pretty easy. I mean, that's myself and Doug Herbert in Reading, Pennsylvania one year. We both were being very hard-headed, and we sat in the pre-stage beams for over 2 minutes. And what kind of made that famous, and it was the beginning of every NHRA drag race for a few years, was they shut us off, pushed us back, and then Doug Herbert come and told me things about my mama I had never heard before.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And he got a cool nickname out of that, by the way. I got nothing but shoved.
Yeah.
I got shoved several times, but he became Dougzilla after that. And so I kind of made my own little thing. I become the Zilla Killer.
The Zilla Killer, I like that. No matter what he says, you always got that on
Yeah,
him.
exactly.
Right on. So someone said, are you into rap music? Is that a thing?
Oh, I love rap music.
Yeah?
Absolutely love it. I'm more of the old school, Ice Cube, Dre.
Yeah.
It's not what people would think from an old guy from Tennessee. It's not Waylon Jennings. It is definitely, more Ice Cube. Don't stop, get it. So
Learn something new about you every day.
Right.
I had no clue.
I was like, I have to ask about that. Is that for real? That's awesome. And so you collect helmets.
I collect my own helmets.
Yeah.
It's a big thing with a lot of race car drivers to swap helmets. I got a quick story. I know we're limited for time and I'm hogging up all of it here, but I drove for a guy named Kenny Koretsky. Great guy. And I won the IHRA championship with him as a team owner, and he's like, I want that helmet. I'm like, Kenny, I've never gave away a helmet. I'm attached to my helmets. I love them. I want that helmet. So I packaged it up. I wrote a handwritten letter. I said, tell Karen when the time is right, I want this helmet back. Meaning, in other words, when he passed away, I wanted that helmet back. Well, a few years ago, I get a box, and inside it, it's a letter from Kenny. He's like, here's your effing helmet back. Karen remodeled my office and put all the racing stuff away, so I got it back.
You got it back.
Yeah.
That's all that matters in the end, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about the Freedom Factory with Cletus. We just spoke about it off camera here real quick. Full arm pump and everything.
I had never driven any kind of circle track racing in my life, and of course, that event is where they do the kidney beans. So you go through the infield, and Sean was talking about demolition derby. In the infield part of that race, it's a whole lot of demolition derby going on. But I'm going to brag on myself. I was racing with Kevin Smith, who's won it several times, and I thought I would be the weak link. And I started at the rear of the field because they inverted it. Kevin had qualified like third. I finished on the lead lap, and I started 17th and finished 10th. So I was proud of myself.
That's not bad.
Nice.
That ain't bad at all.
Kevin quickly went out there and blowed the radiator out of the thing, so we didn't have a good finish for the night. But I didn't let the team down. So, Kevin, if you're listening, it wasn't my fault.
At least it was on somebody else, right?
Exactly.
White knuckles or not.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome. So, Sean, let's chat. So, drag racing fan from Canada. You have a crazy online following, and that seems like it's rolling pretty good. You said yesterday.
No way.
Yeah, for fuck's sake.
You got to it before I did.
So, and tell me, how did the What No Way come to be? How's that a thing?
We were bored on the couch during COVID, and like the What No Way, I've said it all my life.
What? No way. Fuck's sakes.
So it's a part of me, but everyone thinks that it was fabricated. But yeah, I just did a video one day, a reaction video, and said it, and people latched onto it crazy hard, and here we are with like 9 million followers.
Wow.
It's allowed me opportunities that I never would have had, like going out with NHRA, meeting Clay and Jeff, and like the people I'm meeting, it's just wild. And then it's created other addictions that going out to NHRA. Well, now I got to try this. So now we're starting to get into some drag racing and stuff too. So it's pretty wild where it's all gone.
Crazy. And what's the timeline on all that? Is that in the past just a couple of years?
Yeah, about 2 years is what it's taken off in. It's been wild.
Crazy. I can't even imagine. That's fantastic. The power of the internet, right?
Yeah, like you go from being just someone that sticks in a shop, a little welding shop, you don't talk to a whole bunch of people, to going out and everyone recognizes you. It's a shock to your system, and but it's yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. It's out of my comfort zone, everything I'm having to do now, but it's slowly becoming my comfort zone. So
cool. Yeah, progression as always. That's awesome. So demolition derby, we were just speaking about a little bit earlier. Is that the best thing ever or what?
Yeah. If you want an adrenaline rush, like I can't say with Top Fuel, like I've stood on the starting line, and I mean the adrenaline rush from just standing on the line is crazy. But when you're out on a track for up to like a half an hour and you're taking your aggression out and running into people, like it's a combat motorsport is what it is. And yeah, there's not much else out there that compares to a derby, I don't think.
Combat motorsports. I've never heard it called that before.
Yeah, like you build this car in your shop. Like, I mean, I've built cars in 12 hours, like for stock shows, but then there's shows that you're building a car for months on end to go to the show. And I mean, one little thing can take you out, right? Like a 5-cent part can take you out of the show. But when you're in it for the long run, and it's 30 degrees outside Celsius, I'm from Canada, so when it's 30 degrees and you're sweating in there and it's 100, like you're boiling over your coolant and you're fighting for that first place, it's pretty cool. Like trying to outdrive the other guy and get that tire shot or take out his rad or break an axle, something like that.
Wow, so there's a strategy to it. You're aiming for specific weak links in their car. You're aiming for the radiator. You're aiming for the tires.
Yeah, everyone thinks it's just a redneck sport, but I mean, there's a lot of engineering per se that goes into building these cars. Like we pre-bend them in spots so that the trunk will fold up the way you want it so it doesn't get into the wheels. You don't want to hit doors. You only want to make hits that are going to inflict damage, right? Like you don't want to waste a hit on a guy on a door or a door bar, or hit him straight on the front, because then all that force comes back into you, right? You hit corners and wheels. You're trying to beat the wheels off of them, basically, right? So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I've been doing it for 20 years. So.
Wow, 20 years. That's
Sean,
awesome.
do you get into the solid fill tires or the skid steer wheels and all that?
So I do run skid steer tires, but I haven't got into the solid stuff. I haven't got into the mod derby per se yet.
We did one on the show, and I did a Crown Vic, and I did the solid fill tires.
Yeah.
But it was neat.
Yeah, it's, if you've never done one before and you're brave enough to get into one of the cars, it is a blast.
We had
fun you'll have, yeah.
We had fun, but Chuck showed up with a ringer. The car you just talked about, he had.
Yeah.
It had a shift. It had a lever right here, forward and reverse. Had skid steer wheels on it. The trunk bent up. The wheels were exposed. It did everything you just said. It was crazy.
Well, like PRI, it's everything motorsports, right? So Demolition Derby is about the only motorsport that I haven't seen represented here. There's a couple engine builders that have some of their Derby engines here, and that's another thing. Like I run a Schrade racing engine in my Derby car, and that thing I can run it with no coolant for half hour. Like it just gets stronger the hotter it gets, it seems, right? But like we run cable shifters, we run cable foot pedals, we relocate our brake systems. Batteries are all located inside. It's crazy the stuff that we do to these cars just to go out and wreck them.
I had no idea
that to wreck them.
Yeah, I had no idea that there was actually a plan going involved, right? The interesting part to me is actually weakening the chassis in some places so that it'll bend here and not over here so that the car will keep running. Aiming for different shots, that's pretty cool. I feel like I can relate to that when I'm sitting behind somebody in the fast lane and they're in the way. It's what we always wanted to do, right?
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. And I've always been the guy that goes after everyone that kind of stands out, right? Like the heavy hitters, like you got to knock them down a peg. So we run heats, and you want to take out the heavy hitters and knock them down. So they got to work on their car to come out for the next heat and all that stuff. But there's big money in it. Like there's shows that are $20,000 to win. My show that I put on in Vulcan, Alberta, it's like we're putting up $10,000 for competitors to come out and race. It's crazy the money that people are putting in these cars and then winning on the backside, right?
Wow. That's awesome. That's super, super awesome. So being Canadian, you know a thing or two about potato cannons?
I do, yeah. But I thought this might come up, yeah.
Big potato cannon guy myself. We cruised into Home Depot and assemble a contraption, and we were showing that back at the shop one day, and really good fun. What's your favorite propellant, if you will?
So I use acetylene and oxygen in mine, and that came from, so my potato gun that I built, it was my grade 12 high school welding project that graduated me out of high school. And my shop teacher, he was like, just build something. I was like, well, what about a potato gun? And he's like, that's awesome, build it. So it's 8 feet long-ish. It sits on a tripod. It's about 200 pounds.
200 pound potato gun.
It's heavy. It's 2 people to carry it.
What's it made of?
It's made out of like steel pipe.
Holy smokes.
So,
That's a pipe bomb.
Yeah, that's what.
well, no. But
I was thinking the same thing.
It doesn't shoot potatoes. They just disintegrate out of it. So we fill tennis balls with rocks, and it'll shoot them clear out of sight.
Cannon. That's a cannon.
Yeah, it's a potato cannon, I guess.
Yeah, that's a cannon.
God.
There's no potato involved here.
Holy shit.
But I remember the first time, so when I brought it to, might sound real bad, but I brought it to the school to get graded. And my shop teacher said, he's like, well, we got to try it out. He's like, have you shot it? I'm like, no. He's like, hey, grab the acetylene cart, So we go back to the shop and we shop this thing off. Well, everyone in the shop class hit the floor when that thing went off.
It belches a 6-foot flame at the end of it.
It kicks back about 2 feet too. So I mean, you got to be holding on to that thing. It's got 2 handles on the back of it. It's pretty wild.
I'm picturing you guys out there trying to figure out how to put rifling in the barrel to get some real accuracy out of it. You know what I mean? Oh, that's a blast. Well, mine definitely doesn't weigh 200 pounds. It's just out of PVC. It shreds pretty good, but I'm always a little bit afraid to put acetylene in it. That's got a nice,
be careful
nice
with
little
the
bang to
acetylene.
it.
We did that at the race shop one time, and we had one of the crew guys that looked like he got shot with buckshot. We blew it up with acetylene. PVC will blow up with acetylene.
It'll blow the side out of the chamber.
Oh, it disintegrated it.
Crazy.
The whole thing.
Crazy.
He's standing there with nothing. Too much acetylene. Yeah,
Too
bad.
much.
Yeah. Don't do that with PVC.
Yeah, you don't know what the right amount would be.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. You get a good you got the mixing valves on the side. You get a good cutting flame going, and then you just put it out on the ground. And
That's what we do.
That sounds pretty much about right.
I wouldn't want to be nowhere near that.
Yeah. Watch from a
I
safe
was
distance
scared
with
the
some
first
binoculars.
time.
Oh, I bet. You're not coming across the border with that.
No. It sounds like the world's coolest shop teacher, honestly.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty jealous of that.
He was the greatest shop teacher ever. Like he was the one that got me into welding, and then like as a teenager growing up with the not really troubles but struggling to get through high school, and he helped me get through it. Mr. Brownlee
That's awesome.
he's the best.
That's awesome.
That is cool.
The man. Awesome. So Jeff, how did you get started with Street Outlaw?
Man, it was a funny story. That show started, it's been 11 years I've been on it, so it's been 12 years, I guess. So I was down at Proline. You've heard of Proline? I was in Eric Dillard's office, and Steve Petty's phone rang. And he goes, "Man, do you know this guy?" And he showed me his phone. It said Justin Shear. I said, "No clue who he is." And he goes, "Man, they're getting this show, and he wants help doing his turbo stuff." And he goes, "Man, would you call him?" He never answered the phone. So I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." I was in Georgia, and so I flew home. I get home, and I remember sitting down at the shop at my office, and I thought, I'll call him, see what he needed. I called him, and he answered the phone, and he says, "Oh my God," he says, "I cannot believe you're calling me." You know, I guess my name come across the screen, whatever. And he says, "Man, I'm in the office right now to sign the contract for the show. Can I call you back?" He walked out of the meeting to answer the phone call. So
Crazy.
yeah, long story.
Wow.
He after the meeting, they signed another year or whatever it was, and he called me back, and we talked forever. And he said, "Would you mind coming out and give me a hand?" And I said, "I'll come check it out," you know. And one of my best friends owns Stainless Works. He needed headers and stuff, so I get on an airplane. I fly to Oklahoma, and man, the rest is history. We all just hit it off. Murder Nova, I was in Chief's shop. It was when he had his wife and kids, and his kids were young, in diapers, crawling across the floor. And Murder Nova come in with his flip-flops and set a lawn chair down. He goes, "I got to watch this guy work." And man, Sean's been my best friend ever since.
That is
And
awesome.
it's it was just a whirlwind from there. Chief didn't want the production crew to know how far off his car was, because he kept promising them that the car was done, and so they kept me out of the eye for a while. I think it was 6-7 months, and then we went testing the car, and then the cameras were there, and it was insane. And they kept asking me to come, and it was insane. It
Cool.
was definitely insane. It was, man, you think of life at every turn in the road. Did you make the right one? I think I made the right one on that one.
I think you made
know
the
what I
right
mean?
one on that
yeah,
one, for sure.
I could have just blew him off and not called him. But, it's been 11 years. It's the longest running car show ever, and I'd do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met some of my best friends there. I wouldn't have this opportunity if I never did it. And Clay and I have been best friends for a long time, and it's just what that show did to the automotive community. I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to say that I helped do that, and it's really cool to see.
Right on. Isn't that funny? And it really, if you boil it down to the moment that page turned, right?
Yeah.
The moment that page turned started off from one phone call.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Where you can boil it down to a moment you're just going through your day. You're like, I'm going to call this dude, right? We make phone calls every day.
Yeah.
And little did you know that would
It changed my life.
literally
forever.
change your life and many, many others across the world.
Absolutely. You know, like Clay, he was a forklift driver and had a dream to drive a race car. He gets paid to drive a race car. He gets to do what he loves to do for a living. And I get to do the same thing because I did that show, you know. We did 25 races this year, and I get paid to drag race. It's the American dream. And I get to do it with my son and my wife, and it's insane. I get to go to NHRA with him, and I get to work on his car. I'm the only one ever that gets to show up, and they set me aside and get me on the passenger side of the motor, and I can literally pull pistons out, throw sleeves in, anything, you know. It's a dream come true for me. I want to drive a top fuel car. I want to get my license. I don't know that I want to race one, but I want to say, hell yeah, I got a top fuel license.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
So it's just been great. And to see, you know, I've been coming to this show. I started coming to SEMA when it was here first, and then it went to Florida, you know, for 5 years. So I've been doing it that long, and, you know, a lot of people don't know, but in the early years, I've always had a passion for drag racing. I always dreamed of doing it. I worked on Pat Musey's car. I worked on Tony Christian's car. I raced with Annette Summers. You know, we did a lot in the early years, and most of the guys on the show don't even know who those people are. They started the streetcar movement back then, and it was just Mike Moran. I rode in his car, you know. It was pretty cool. But it's just been a crazy ride, and to see where it's come, like this show this weekend, you see how packed it is, and it's just it's amazing to see, because, you know, years before it was falling off and drag racing was and now it's just explodes.
Yeah, now look at it.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's awesome. Cool story, man. That's awesome. I just love
one phone call,
dialing it down to that one exact moment. That was the second that page turned.
I'll never forget that day in my life. You know, Steve,
awesome.
Eric was sitting there, and Steve was sitting there, and he goes, "Do you know this knucklehead?" I didn't know him. You know, and sure as shit, it was just a phone call away.
Yeah, sometimes you go out on the limb and you're like, wow, I'm glad I made that phone call.
Right place to right time.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Hey, it was meant to be, man.
Life-changing, yeah.
Congratulations. That's awesome. That's awesome. And then so rolling into your guys' hydrogen car.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. How has that concept even come to be, and then it's being raffled off?
It's not being raffled off. It's being auctioned off.
Sorry.
We dreamed that up last year, legit at SEMA. We were in the Edelbrock booth, and CRC wanted us to come up with another idea because we were showing the GTO that we did the prior year, and man, we were standing there and we was talking to Edelbrock, and I don't know who come up with the hydrogen idea. That was you?
I can. So basically, a guy named Mark Campbell, he was a VP at Edelbrock, also a longtime friend. CRC had wanted us to build a classic car. We had done the 06 GTO, and of course, he's known for 57s. I'm going to boil this down. It's a long story. I'll boil it down. He's known for 57s. I make a living racing a Hemi. And so me and him were like, okay, well, CRC wants to do a 57, we'll do a 57. We'll put a Gen 3 Hemi in it. And Mark Campbell's standing there. He's like, y'all are buddies with Mike Copeland. Why wouldn't you ask him to make it run on hydrogen?
And I almost took a page out of your book and said, what?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, exactly. So I called Mike. He comes right over to the Edelbrock booth, and he's like, are y'all doing the same thing with this car, like the GTO, where when you auction it off, all the money goes to tech school scholarship funds? And we're like, yep. And he said, I'm in. And I'm like, Mike, are you sure? Because this technology, he's the only person in the world who has it. Like, it come from his brain. And he said, yeah, I'll do anything to help kids learn how to work on cars and, you know, maybe HVAC, electrician, whatever it is they want to do. He said, but if it helps kids and that's what y'all are doing, count me in. And it is insane to me, even still, you know, the car's done, it's here, it's beautiful, that he is going to allow that technology to be sold. It will be the first ever non-OE car that has been sold that will run on hydrogen publicly.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that is, and this come from Mike, he said he was laying in bed one night years ago with his wife, and he said, and all the news is about, gasoline's going away, we're going to go electric, and of course that stirs up a whole different subject. But he said, I want my grandson to know what a screaming V8 motor sounds like if gasoline goes away. And I've got to figure out how to make that happen.
Wow.
And he did. I mean, the guy's a genius. He really, really is. And me and him kind of got, and Jeffrey, to be honest with you, Jeffrey probably did more work on that car than either one of us did.
He did.
Yeah. But we get the thing kind of mocked up. We did it with a dummy engine. We took the car to Mike, and he built the engine. And I want everybody that's listening to this to know that that is a normal engine. There's nothing special about it, other than it's cool because it's a Gen 3 Hemi and it's got an Edelbrock supercharger on it. But Mike puts the hydrogen system on there, and that's all. It's really simple. You go look at it, you would never have a clue that it's on hydrogen other than the big giant tank in the trunk.
I was glad the trunk was popped yesterday because I had no idea, and I'm looking around and I didn't see anything out of the ordinary, and I go to the back and I'm like, whoa,
that was the plan
different.
with the tank, because you can get, he told us that you can get molded tanks that would fit in the trunk flat, we could cover it, but we wanted the wow factor,
Yeah.
And like Clay said, you look at it, you go, oh, it looks like a Hemi.
Or an LS.
I say, if I didn't know what I was walking by looking, I'd say, it's an LS.
My first glance as well, I figured LS, and then I started looking at the sign. I'm like, wait a second.
It's funny because people look at it and you can see them go, Then they go, what? They see. Yeah, exactly. You did it at SEMA.
Yeah.
But, the scholarship thing that CRC is doing for the tech schools, that story you told about your shop teacher, a lot of the shop classes around here are gone. Yeah. And Clay wasn't there when we got to auction off the GTO, and I got to meet some of the kids that got the scholarships, and you could see it was life-changing for them because their mom and dad didn't have a lot of money, and they were very proud to get that scholarship, and they're going to do something with it because they want to work with their hands.
Yeah.
So it almost brought tears to my eyes to see the kids because they were so happy to get the scholarships.
And here's the beauty of it. We're doing it again, and what we're going to build is kind of, I don't want to say it's a secret. We hadn't completely decided, but so many people in the industry want to be a part of it. I mean, the past two builds, have been Jeffrey, Jeff, myself, Emily Reeves, Bogey, and this upcoming year, the guy sitting in between us here is like, I want in. And so Sean's coming this year. He's going to pitch in and help. And, it's amazing how great this industry is, the people that want to get involved. Now, this hydrogen car has opened up a different side of the industry because it's such a unique build. We've been contacted by lots of companies like, how is this happening? How's it work? And of course, we're directing them to Mike because we don't know how it works. But it's been pretty dang cool, that so many companies are concerned with having young people making this industry continue going. And we're just proud to be a very small part of it.
It's overwhelming the help that people want to give for such a cause. And it's really cool.
It's hard to get kids into this stuff now. Kids want to play video games and stuff like that, but if you can offer them an opportunity to, rather than play a video game, go do this in real life. It's huge. It's a small part, but
for sure. So is we gonna fly him in, or is he driving? Because if he's driving, I'd love to see that cannon.
Bring it with. Bring it.
I don't think
that's YouTube gold. We'll be shooting that at the shop.
Bringing that to the States, that'd be tough to explain that at the border. And for me, I was lucky enough to have a high school class that was a welding metals manufacturing. I took 7 semesters of it, and the only reason that I didn't do the 8th one is because I failed too many other classes, and I had to take a 0 period, and I had to retake some classes. But, I think having a program for people like I'm going to say us, right?
Yep.
I think I never really jived with school. I never connected. I could never sit there and read the books, and I was always
barely graduated.
fiddling in my seat, right? We're a certain type of people to be able to do what we do. So to give kids an opportunity that don't have an opportunity, I think it's so freaking cool what you guys are doing. So thank you. Honestly, thank you.
Man, it's our pleasure.
Yep.
We enjoy doing it, and we get to meet so many cool people.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know that I would ever met you. You know, I don't know, and I'm glad I did. You know, and you know, Freiberger and Finnegan came to my shop years ago, and we did the leaf blower Monza. And they called me and they said, hey, we're going to shoot this thing. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Yeah, bring it. It was the funnest thing ever. And they started the ball rolling of everybody knowing who I was. And they gave me the car. They literally flew in, bought the Monza, drove it to my shop. We went to Home Depot, put the leaf blowers in it. We drive it to the Maxton Mile in Ohio. And at the end, we all broke records with it. And they were looking at each other and they're like, you want this car? I'm like, why? They go, we got to fly home. I'm like, sure. We had a friend of mine with me. He drove it home. We still have it today.
You're like, well, we're not going to leave it here.
No, I was like, wow, I never even gave that a thought. Nobody had a trailer. We drove it, you know. So it was Mike and David drove it to the race spot, and they were catching a plane out. And we ended up with a Monza.
Sweet, with the leaf blower on it.
Yeah, we still have
5
it.
of them.
Yeah, 5
Yeah,
of them.
right,
Yep.
of course. Yeah, no, not just one. So I want to talk about, so we're over there in the Stainless Works booth, the yellow car.
Yes.
The drag racing world is a little bit foreign to me. We're very familiar with turbo cars in our sanctioning body and the way that we run. So we could run any chassis, any engine, any transmission, any differential, as long
Lord,
as it's
he's
in a
thinking
unibody
about
chassis.
turning the 57 into a drift car. I see where this is going.
Put some good steering angle on it and drive the thing sideways, right?
Hey, $400,000, it's yours. You can do anything you want with it.
Everything has a price.
Yeah, everything has a price. So what kind of power does that thing make? That thing is insane.
That motor will support right around 4,000 horsepower. Yeah,
That's wild.
Twin turbo. It's a 400 automatic in it, Rossler transmission. It's pretty gnarly.
That thing looks like a ride. I mean, the turbo's hanging off behind the rear tire, or behind the front tires on that thing is insane. What I noticed the coating on the headers and then the downpipe. It's like this beautiful gold. It looks like you polished it. What is that?
So I don't like to polish, and I always like my stuff to look nice. So what I do is I build the headers, and there's a place called Dan's Polishing in Tennessee, and I send them down to him. He polishes them. They come back chrome, and that's what happens to them when you make a couple runs on them. It turns out beautiful.
So that's
gold.
just from the heat.
That's all that is.
You know, I guessed it was way too uniform because the whole thing is perfectly gold. It looks like it was dipped or plated in some regard, but that's it. You literally polished it.
That's it. And the exhaust is titanium. It almost looks gold as well. So it if you would put a camera under the hood of that car, when it's at full boost, those headers are glowing red.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's the color that it ends up. It's beautiful. Jeffrey loves it.
Yeah, I just can't believe it's so consistent. Like I said, I thought for sure it was some sort of dipping process, but the gold is gorgeous. I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, if you just make sure you don't touch it or get oil on it, it stays beautiful forever.
Yeah, like even on with your fingers, the
oil from your skin will do it. I noticed on the pipe that comes up to the turbo, it looks like somebody put their hand on it.
Leaned on
They
it.
made a run, and it kind of got ugly looking down there. But yeah, that's all that is.
Now you have a handprint on your exhaust.
Is that you?
It wasn't me.
Well, it depends if he did it coming right off the track. There'd probably be a little bit of skin left on there, but
you would have some skin on it for sure.
guys, well, I think we're gonna wrap it up. I really appreciate you guys' time. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thanks
we
for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a
We'll,
blast.
That
good
was
stuff.
fun.
And we will see you guys at SEMA or at the racetrack. Best of luck with the racing and everything you guys got going on. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Thanks. This podcast episode of Hughes It or Lose It is brought to you by Royal Purple Duralect Diesel Motor Oil. This is the same motor oil that we run in our Mercedes-Benz OM606 turbo diesel engine and our four-seater ride-along car. This is perfect for any diesel application. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode.